It is the start of week 8 and today is day 50. We left Hawk Mountain Shelter this morning and it started to snow on us as we walked towards Woody Gap, where my friend Monarch was going to pick us up to bring us into Delagana, which is a town right down from the AT, just so we can wait out the worst of the weather today and then possibly the cold weather that's coming in tomorrow too. If you count all those guys. I kind of remember it being. What? Girl. Just kidding. Today is day 50 of the Border to Border Calendar Year Triple Crown. We did 38 miles yesterday, 7,000 feet of gain on our first day on the AT, which was killer. We did 21 miles, then got to the approach trail, did the entire approach trail, and then wound up making it to Hawk Mountain Shelter, which was a little ambitious, but our main point of doing that was the weather today looked terrible. It's supposed to snow, sleet, rain, but more than just like weather like that, the temperatures are supposed to be freezing, and as the day goes on, it's going to get colder and colder. Tomorrow, it's supposed to be like 5 degrees. So that's pretty scary. So our goal was just to get to Woody Gap. Someone I know who actually helped and hosted me when I was in Glacier, named Monarch, is out here as a ridge runner, so we knew she could pick us up. So we woke up at 4:30 this morning, got out, did the 12 miles to Woody Gap, some climbing, but it was nothing too bad. We probably passed 15 hikers today, which was cool. And it snowed on us all morning, but it wasn't too wet. And then we got out to the road right around 10 a.m. She picked us up and she drove us in this town, Dahlonega, which is like maybe 10 miles down the road from Woody Gap. And it's like 11 a.m. We're already in a room, warm, just took a shower. And then we're just going to see how we feel about tomorrow. Obviously, it's going to be freezing cold, 5 degrees with like the wind chill and everything. The feels like might be in the negatives. So like at least there's a small chance we'll stay just to wait out the worst of it. But if it's not raining or anything, cold is more manageable. So we'll just see what we wind up doing. But we're going to be chilling here all day. Woo. At the Quality Inn in Dahlonega. Get some editing done today and just relax and get a bunch of calories in. Every time I'm in town. And struggling to keep up with my kids. Then I found Body. They showed me exactly what to do. It's the end of the day. All we've done all day is hang out, eat, got sushi burritos and hibachi for like lunch and dinner. And got tons of editing done, writing done, some gear reviews and stuff like that. And just made the decision to stay another night in this town because tomorrow if we hiked out, we'd be like 8 or 9 miles from Blood Mountain. And tomorrow, Blood Mountain is going to be, it feels like, negative 13 degrees. With winds like 30 miles an hour, freezing, the high is 20 degrees. The cold's really not the biggest thing. It's really like the wind chill and the feels like temperature. But Friday looks way better. No wind, 27 degrees. So we're zeroing in Delagana. And then we're going to get back to walking Friday morning. Day 51 started with some breakfast with Fresh Ground. It's day 51. And we made the decision today to take a zero because wind chill up on Blood Mountain today is going to make the temperature around negative 13 degrees. So that just sounds, I think with the gear that we have, we could have pulled it off. I have enough layers. It just would have been a constant battle of really making sure that you strip layers off when you're climbing to keep yourself as dry as possible, and then immediately put layers back on for descending. And it just could have been a little risky, honestly. With temperatures like that, it would have been pretty easy, I guess, to maybe get hypothermia. Yeah, that's just super cold, and we're already in Dahlonega, so we just decided to stay. One day off isn't gonna hurt us. We're still so ahead of schedule, and it seems like we're still gonna be able to manage our high 20 into 30-mile days on the AT. So we're chilling today. Fresh Ground actually just came because we hadn't seen him on the AT yet. Picked us up, brought us to Waffle House for breakfast, and then he just drove us to Walmart to grab some stuff for resupplying. And then we're just gonna hang out for the day. We got some food at Walmart so that we really don't have to leave here again. I'm just gonna get a bunch of writing and video work done today, hang out, just relax, and then tomorrow morning, Monarch, who picked us up and brought us into Dahlonega, her shift is starting for being a ridge runner. Like, she has to work in the morning tomorrow, but she's gonna get us super early, and we're gonna hit the trail probably in the dark, try to get a big mile day in tomorrow. More. We've been doing literally nothing all day, but I didn't talk about this yesterday. Like, there was some drama at this motel. Like, the cops were knocking on the door next to us last night a bunch, and then a lady was screaming and was asking for help. I called the police, and they came. I think she's like mentally unwell, and she was hallucinating or something. She was still here this morning, and I was on the phone with my mom outside when like a bunch of local police, a sheriff, some kind of mental health advocate, all these people came, and eventually they got her out of her car and took her away. That's the tea of the day, but otherwise doing nothing. Talked to my mom, packed my resupply, got some work done, video stuff, finished my half gallon of chocolate milk from yesterday. Now I'm moving on to my 1 quart of chocolate milk for the day. Went to Walmart today with Fresh Ground, got a bag salad, soup, ate that. But it's like only 5 o'clock, so I know I'm gonna have to eat something else today. Whether it's like a pint of ice cream or we order food to the room or something. I don't know. But it's freezing today. I'm glad we didn't walk. It was snowing a little bit earlier. We're just chilling. And tomorrow's gonna be a super early day and get some big miles in. This is the bougiest through hike of my. Today's day 52, and we finally left Dahlonega today. This morning, Monarch picked us up and drove us back to Woody Gap so we could begin hiking from there. And we only had about 8 or so miles to get up to the top of Blood Mountain. So, gonna have to keep it rolling. There was a lot of snow as we made our way up Blood Mountain, but I really enjoyed the climb, and the snow made the scenery really beautiful. Once we got up top, we began descending, heading towards Neal's Gap, which is where Mountain Crossings is, which is a small store, and I have a box or two there, which we're going to pick up, and then we're going to keep on going. A hiker named Firefly actually packed this box for us and sent it, even though we've never met and we've only ever communicated on social media, but she loaded it with all of the best things that a hiker could ever want. So we got all those goodies there, and then we began the climb out of Neal's Gap. End of day 52. We got picked up this morning like 6:30 a.m. by Monarch, and she drove us back to Woody Gap. We got back on there, and it was absolutely freezing, but we had a little climb to start going up like out of Woody Gap, and then I knew we'd be climbing going up and over Blood Mountain. So I just wore my wind gear, and it was really cold, but then I didn't overheat on the climb. And when we got to the shelter at the top of Blood Mountain, I put all my layers on. Then we went down to Mountain Crossing, like Neil's Gap. I had 2 boxes there. I ordered like coconut oil packets, which I put in my hair. And then this girl, Firefly, who is like a triple crowner. I know her from social media, but we've never met. She sent a huge resupply box with tons of goodies for us. And then we were like, I don't know, 10 miles into the day, walked for another 8 miles. We hit another road and there was trail magic. We got burgers, hot chocolate and stuff. And then we just kept walking. We were 18 miles in and we had like 12 or so more miles to go. So we just got to Blue Mountain Shelter. It's like a 30-mile day, 7,500 feet of elevation gain. And there's 4 guys in the shelter. So we just set up our tent right over there. So it's like a little before 6:30, food's cooking. We're just gonna call it a night. It is day 53. This morning we left the Blue Mountain Shelter in the dark and had a little bit of a downhill heading towards Unicoi Gap. And from there we had a pretty big climb out of the gap and then a few more climbs to come after that. Basically heading just towards Dick's Gap, where we're gonna go into around the Bend Hostel to get a couple more boxes that I have. And today is definitely gonna be a really big day with probably the most elevation gain that I've ever done in one day before. By about 20 miles into the day, we'd already done over 5,000 feet of elevation gain. Then we dropped down into Dick's Gap and headed to Standimals around the Bend Hostel. Had some pizza there and hung out. It was pretty tempting to stay, but eventually we got a ride back to Dick's Gap so we could keep hiking again from there. Day 53. We're like, I don't know, 25 or something miles in. We camped at Blue Mountain Shelter. It's above Unicoi Gap. In the first like 17 miles today, we did like over 5,000 feet of elevation gain. Then we got to Dick's Gap, got picked up by the super nice people at the Standimals around the Bend Hostel. Had some boxes there, went and got those boxes. I'm gonna be showing some of the stuff that I got in them with a couple companies I'm working with. And we ate pizza, drank some soda, and then leaving there, we had 10 miles and 4,000 feet more of elevation gain to go for the day. So we have at least a couple hours left. It's gonna be a 30-mile day with over 9,000 feet of elevation gain. Around 4 p.m. we crossed out of Georgia and into North Carolina, another state down, and then we had a bunch of climbs to do to get to the Muskrat Creek Shelter after a 30-mile day. Today is day 54. We left the Muskrat Creek Shelter pretty early this morning, and the trail was actually level and didn't have very much climbing until we got to Standing Indian Mountain a little bit later in the morning. That was the first big climb of the day, and then we got to enjoy a lot more flat trail and level walking until we got to Mount Albert, which is the 100-mile marker for the AT. I kind of figure. The climb up Mount Albert is pretty steep, but it's actually really quick. It's only about a half mile to really push your way all the way up to the top. So we got up there and knew that for the rest of the day, we really didn't have much more elevation gain to do. And by the time we got to Winding Stair Gap, we were going to get picked up by my friend Jive Turkey and brought into Franklin for the night. Today's day 54, and we did 28.5 miles today. It was only 5,000 feet of elevation, so it was pretty much the same distance as yesterday, just a couple miles less, and half as much elevation gain, which is crazy. We woke up, we were at Muskrat Creek Shelter last night, and then it was absolutely freezing last night, and this morning started moving around 6, and had maybe like a few pretty cruisy miles to go. And then we did like Standing Indian Mountain, which is like a pretty gradual climb, nothing too crazy. Saw a bunch of other hikers on trail today. And then the trail levels out for a while, and it's really not that much elevation gain at all until you go up Mount Albert, which is the 100-mile mark for the AT. So over 100 miles into the AT, and then we headed towards like Rock Gap Shelter. And somewhere around there, we ran into Jive Turkey, who I met on the PCT. He was gonna bring us into Franklin, but he went out for like a little day hike before that, picked us up at the road, drove us into Franklin, and then we got dropped off and went out to dinner with him. So we did a little bit of resupplying. He brought us to Walmart, we had dinner, we just hung out at the room, and then we're gonna have like a late start tomorrow because when we get back on at Winding Stair, we're only 27 miles from the Knock, so that's only one day for us, but Punisher has a box there, so we have to wait for the store to be open. If we go there tomorrow, we'll get there, the store will be closed, we won't be able to get the box. They don't open till 10 a.m. So we're gonna do a short day tomorrow and then get the box the following day. The morning of day 55, we are checking out at like 11 o'clock at the hotel in Franklin. Late start because we only really need to go like 17 miles today or something like that because we can't get to the Knock tomorrow until 10 a.m. so we can pick up Punisher's box. So we're gonna get picked up by a trail angel, brought back to the trail, and then do a pretty short day today so we can get to the Knock tomorrow morning, and then hopefully do a big like full 30-mile day tomorrow. It's fighting. We got dropped back off at trail at Winding Stair Gap around like 11:30 or maybe a little bit closer to noon. And then we had one climb to do to get up to the top of a bald and descended for a little bit before we began the climb up to Way a Bald, which I really liked. Last time I was here in 2023, we got a ton of trail magic, which wasn't the case today, but it was beautiful, and we took a break up there for lunch. And from there, we only had about 7 or so miles to go for the day. We don't want to push all the way to the Knock today because we'll get there when the store's closed, which means we can't get our permits or our box. So we're just going to do a shorter day today and then head into the Knock tomorrow morning. After about a 19-mile day, we wound up getting to Tellico Gap and just tenting there alongside the road. We just didn't want to get too close to the Knock, so we're going to leave a little bit of mileage for ourselves for tomorrow. This morning, we got to start our day with the climb up to Wesser Bald, and the sun was just starting to rise as we got up top, so the views were ridiculously beautiful. And from there, we didn't have far to go to get down to the Nantahala Outdoor Center. Morning of day 56. Yesterday we only did 19 miles because pretty much if we did the full 27, we would have got to the Knock Nantahala Outdoor Center when they were closed, and we need to get Smokies permits, and Punisher has a box here. So we just did 19 miles, camped by a road. We're up like a little bit later than usual this morning because the Knock doesn't open until 10 a.m. So there's no rush. We just got here, still not open, but there's Wi-Fi. I'm gonna get a little bit of work done, grab a box, get our Smokies permits, and just keep going. We're only like 7 or 8 miles in for the day. We're gonna still try to do a 30. And I mean, we're hoping, today's Tuesday, we're hoping to beat a standing bear on Friday. Rip through the Smokies and just keep going from there. And it was a nice day. Like, we didn't need a ton of layers this morning walking, but down here by the river, it is dang cold. So just grabbed a bunch of chocolate milk and stuff from the general store, breakfast sandwich. I'm just gonna hang out. Puppy. After we left the Knock, we had about an 8-mile climb to get up to Chiahal Bald, but it was pretty good. The first couple hours weren't too bad. The trail was pretty forgiving. You would go up for a while and get a little bit tired. Then it would level out a bit, or you'd do a small amount of downhill, so it wasn't terrible. And then later on in the day, when we finally descended down to Stokoa Gap, we got water and brisk iced tea for trail magic, and then just wound up doing a 31-mile day with 8,000 feet of elevation gain and calling it at the Cable Gap shelter for the night. It's the end of week 8. This week we had another 0 day. Early in the week we did like at least one nero, and then we had to do a short day so we could get to the Knock when it was open, but we still wound up doing 150 miles. Yesterday we did 31 miles with 8,000 feet of elevation gain. So finally we just crossed the 1,500 mile marker. End of week 8, and then week 9 is beginning now.